Welcome to the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show. I'm the big beefy boy, Shaz Beef, and today I'm joined by a fellow old buck in the form of Morro. Both representing Brody.
Big different Brody.
Yeah. Brody with a Y and Brody with a .ie.
IE.
Yeah. Well,
Brody with
and we didn't even mean that.
We didn't even mean that. We seen each other walking down the street and we said, Brody.
Class. Marks. Very apropos.
Yes.
That's the word
Is
John
that why
Martin.
you picked it?
No.
That's why I picked it.
Oh no, I got a new t-shirt.
Oh, look.
So I was like, yeah, I'm going to wear my Brody t-shirt.
Yeah.
Bruiser Brody. But very apropos, a word that I'm taking off John Morton because he recently said it on a podcast.
Very eloquent.
And I've been using it ever since without fully knowing what it means. I think appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fitting.
I'm a linguini genius.
Yes.
Very appropriate considering what we want to talk about today. So, All Out. We're not necessarily delving into All Out and Bash at Berlin because these PLE PBVs are coming thick and fast and we can't keep up.
Well,
We're busy
we
boys.
just had a lot of content lined up that just happened to coincide with when these pay-per-views were, as you said, coming thick and fast.
Yeah, so I think we can kind of delve into these pay-per-views as juxtaposition, and you can look at them from different angles because they were both very different presentations of wrestling.
Yes.
And I think it can fit the wider theme of violence. Violence in wrestling. Gratuitous violence, some may say. Or appropriate violence. Is it pushing the trend? Apropos violence. Is pushing the trend the way that wrestling is going to continue to go? When does it stop? But I think we start with how All Out played out.
Yeah, we could do that.
Of course, there's a few different things within All Out that stand out outside of the wrestling sphere. In my mind, the Chicago street fight between Stat and Willow. The ending to Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry, and thus the ending of the Blackpool Combat Club. And then, of course, the whole cage match between Swerve and Hangman Adam Page.
The whole thing
was something to behold.
Yeah.
I am of the opinion that Swerve and Hangman, while pushing the envelope, possibly outside the realms of what I would view as realistic in wrestling, but it would have had more of an impact had they not had that match with Stat and Willow, and had they not done the plastic bag spot with Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley.
Do you not think it had an impact? Or do you not think it was impactful?
I don't think it was as much of an impact as it could have been, considering that we had seen a lot of
violence on the card already.
Well, not even just violence. Maybe we'll start with Willow and Stat.
Yeah.
So starting with Willow and Stat, I was looking at that going, they're both putting the work in, right? This
great match.
Do you think it was great?
I absolutely loved it.
Why so?
Right, so they were in the death spot, really.
Yeah.
They were coming after like a superheated, absolutely incredible showcase of physicality and athleticism and some great storytelling between Ospreay and Pac that got the crowd lit up. And if we look back at since Ospreay has joined, traditionally on the pay-per-view, say this run of pay-per-views he's having with 5-6 pay-per-views, his matches, anything that's followed him has died with the audience.
Yeah.
Simply because...
Well, you've seen it with Mercedes and Britt.
Yeah, at all in. Anything that's followed him has really struggled to kind of recapture the energy, because the audience is tired after
So
it.
they had to turn it up.
Yeah, and what I thought, like, when I seen Willow and Stat coming out for that match, I knew it was Chicago street fight, and I was like, God, this is dangerous placing for this type of match, because you need an audience for that.
Yeah.
Like, the audience has to be hot for that type of match. They've been building to this match for months. And I was worried that, what happened to Mercedes and Britt at All In would now happen to Willow and Stat. And I just thought they captured the audience within 30 seconds. The pace they started with, they just basically dispensed with any build within the match. They read the room. They knew, we're following this. We need to
Everyone's
get
already
after it.
hot.
Yes, we need to get after it and keep them hot.
Did you not think, though, in the actual match itself, It just seemed like they were waiting to hit the next spot, then they'd hit it, and then go to the next spot, and then it'd hit it.
I didn't really feel like that because I think they just...
I think the flow of it wasn't right.
Do you not think so?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think when they did the tack spot, which was a cool visual. To be fair to Stat, it was a cool visual. And then they're getting into the chain stuff.
Yeah, no,
like even,
actually,
like, you know the strap when she's like wrapping on.
Yeah. Sorry. Now, when you get to that part, the end of the match, like we'll say that stretch of the match when they get back to the ring, I did feel that was a little bit clunkier or not as smooth as earlier in the match. So when I'm saying I love the match, really most of that match for me is like that first, we'll say 6-7 minutes, when a lot of the stuff that took place in the ring at the start and then all that stuff outside the ring up the ramp. I thought that was like excellent, and I thought their pacing was spot on considering what they were following. I do agree with you in a sense though, when they got back to the ring towards the end, they're probably hitting that 10, 11, 12 minute mark, and
I need to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah, we're going to the finish. The finish is very much like clearly plotted out, and now there's all this business to take care of.
But is the match not better served by, instead of going outside the ring and doing all that stuff, like just have a brawl? Like, does a brawl need going off the stage and then getting back up?
Doesn't need it, no.
Then getting back up and then coming back into the ring, then getting the tacks. Now, like you can make. Like Mick Foley and Undertaker, you know, that was 2 cage spots. One wasn't meant to happen, and thumbtacks, and you know that was ridiculous in itself. But that, some would say, was quite uncomfortable to watch maybe at the time. Yeah. Still regarded as legendary. But like, if you do different things, it seemed like the fans are just waiting for the next thing so they can go, oh, golf claps is the term that was used recently. Golf claps. When's the next thing? Golf. So
I thought the crowd were super hot for that whole match.
But you're not starving, and this is right. Oh, you're not starving them.
Okay,
and then hitting a big spot.
Yeah, I get that too. But also, like, my counterpoint to that would be, that's fine. That's a good analysis if you're looking at the match in a vacuum, but the match doesn't take place in a vacuum. Like, that's a specific match at a specific spot.
But that's an endemic of, like, the one person that's booking that is Tony Khan. So. It's on a particular show, but he's cramming all this in. Would he not have the wherewithal to go, look, I know you want to do all this cool stuff, right? That's awesome. But out of those 10 things you want to do, pick 4. Pick 4 and pace it better. Pace it differently.
I'm going to disagree
because
with you
I have some big things coming up later in the show that I want people to be shocked and awed with. We've already set someone on fire. We've already tried to set someone on fire then in a cage with those locked up. We've tried to run over a person with a van. You know, we're burning out the audience. And then this is a thing with his MJF and Pac, the placing of that. You're burning out the audience because that's coming after a tag match, which came after a hot MJF Daniel Garcia match. So you're trying to... It would it not have more impact as a viewer just sitting at home watching it? Like to go, oh, cool. Oh, wow. Did you see that thumbtack spot? That was ridiculous. Oh, right. And then go into a finish instead of making it look silly with, I thought, the strap.
But here's the thing. I didn't like the strap part, but in general, I can see where you're coming from, but I disagree on the kind of, I suppose, what would you call it? Like, on the fact, I don't know, you hate using the word fact, but on the fact that the crowd was super hot for the whole thing, so they didn't burn the crowd out.
Yeah,
like,
but
if the crowd hadn't been burned out, then
in a vacuum they didn't. But I mean, like, if we
do the next thing,
if we skip to the main event, the crowd were quite silent during that main event. I don't think they were super hot because they were.
I thought they were hot.
Bar, we want murder.
Yeah,
they're chatting. Murder. Is that the next step? Because are you going TNA where someone's getting shot in a wedding ring?
The main event was paced very differently, though.
Right. So, but in between that, so say you have this big hardcore thing, and I think hardcore wrestling has a spot in wrestling. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I really do.
We should probably speak about that in general. Like, what's your?
Oh, we will. I just want to kind of reference All Out and then Basher Berlin, and then go into the whole general aspect of it, because I was a massive fan of deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah,
when I seen CZW for the first time, it blew my mind.
I was never a fan of deathmatch wrestling. That's why it's weird that we're on
opposite sides.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm burnt out from it.
Maybe that's what possibly. And generally, these like super well acclaimed ladder matches from
TLC WrestleMania 17.
Yeah,
and I was thinking about that today. Yeah,
when I watched them years and years ago, like live or first time, I didn't get any enjoyment out of them in the moment.
Really?
I just watched them like fear.
Yeah.
I just couldn't enjoy it because
boundaries,
I was afraid of so I'm going to watch someone break their neck here. You know what I mean?
Is right to say the difference between a TLC and the say two person match is that when you have the TLC, you had 6 people in that ring.
Yeah.
So you're going from that spot. Then they were gone.
Then it's 2 different people.
Then there's Spike Dudley coming down and he's doing his Dudley dog through a table to Christian. Then you have Lita coming down. She's doing a Hurricane Rana and hitting someone in a chair. Then you have Rhino come down. Oh, now there's Jeff Hardy and Edge up on top of and now it's Matt Hardy and Bubba going to the outside. So that looks like complete chaos. It doesn't look like, oh, we're going to do this, and now it's the same 2 people, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to go do that, and then we're going to go do it. It felt, no, I wouldn't say choreographed because it's all to an extent choreographed, but
this thing of people saying something looks choreographed, like every single wrestling match I watch, it looks choreographed.
Yeah, but like
even
how,
like Zack Sabre Jr.'s technical wrestling looks choreographed,
and also then when you get to a different type of match, if someone isn't written out a storyline. WWE is a big thing of this as well because they've done it with the punt kick and they've done it with the powerbomb apron, and just look at the super kick overall in general or a Canadian destroyer. Like once you devalue
a move
yeah. or the impact of something like going off the side of a stage, because they just did that with Darby and MJF as well. Once you devalue that impact, it becomes just a barricade spot where you're going through the barricade now.
Yeah, the barricade spot in any company doesn't feel like
it's overdone.
Yeah. But that was Paul Heyman's that was a book and not a crutch, because a crutch isn't the fair way of it, because it's still kind of cool. But like it was a Heyman booking trope that he used in a lot of the big matches to sell the impact, and then it started to filter into not just the big matches, but
it becomes such a I'll harken back to, and I'll get back onto the point of Vader and Mick Foley. When Mick Foley tries to clothesline Vader over the guardrail, and he doesn't go over, but he tries to go over, but he doesn't go over, but he falls. And it's just Vader falling on a guardrail. And you're like, man, that looks so sore. That looks so fucking sore. Because Foley tries to do his clothesline over spot kind of thing. Yeah. And that has more impact for me than a barricade spot.
But that's actually sore.
Yeah, I know. And
we all know the barricade is gimmicked.
Right, so we have this big hardcore match. Yeah. Where did it go from there?
So then, there was a couple of matches went by.
And then we have a Jack Perry, who has been someone who has been involved in a lot of the violence recently.
With the Derby match.
With the flamethrower. And him as a character, I don't get anyway. Well, he's standing there as if he's a badass and he's, putting himself, he's martyring himself to take the knee. And you're like, you're a fucking heel, you dumb shit.
Also, it wasn't earned.
It's not earned, and nothing he's doing is earned. He should be a chicken shit.
Yeah, I said this to you off cam,
off air.
Yeah. My issue with Jack Perry is, I actually have kind of high hopes. I still think he has super high potential.
He's quite young, as John pointed out.
At 27, something like that. And I think he has a lot of the individual parts that can make a good wrestler over time. My issue with him at the moment is, and I do think the heel turn is good for him because it's forcing him to explore different promo styles, etc., etc., etc. I'm getting off topic. But my issue with him right now is he has developed this new character, Scapegoat. But I don't think he fully knows what he wants the Scapegoat to be or represent.
No, he don't. And he wants to look cool. That's the thing. He wants to look cool. Like when he's chained to,
you mentioned the mask.
It's poorly made, but when he's chained to the cage at the end of Brawl or at the end of Blood and Guts, and his friend makes a save, but he's like, oh, whatever. Yeah, you're like, fuck off.
And so, and I think him not fully having this super clear vision in his head of what the scapegoat is then impacts his in-ring style.
Yeah, but he just wants to look cool. And this is even going back to wanting to use real glass in a spot. You're like, and then what, man? And then what? We're like, go through a limo on a kickoff show of All In, going through the window. You're just like, who gives an absolute...
I like that. There's moxie involved in that. I like upstarts. I like young lads telling old lads to get fucked.
Yeah, I get that, but
and that was his way of doing that. So I do respect that.
No, I don't get. I know what people want to push limits and all that, but do it when it's earned.
Yeah, we want to talk about earned is the main event. That was earned, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll get to that.
The plastic bag,
and then we're skipping the plastic bag thing, right?
Yeah.
So John Moxley grabs a plastic bag. John Moxley is known for being a bit of a purveyor of violence. Mm-hmm. He grabs a plastic bag.
What's his nickname?
Yeah. Grabs a plastic bag, puts it around Bryan Danielson's head, and proceeds to try and asphyxiate him.
Yeah.
Right.
Suffocate.
Whatever. Right? You're watching in the crowd. Right? You get one angle of it, and no one from the back is helping.
Yeah.
And he's trying to murder someone on TV.
Effectively, or make him pass out at the very least.
Yeah. It's done with no real... we look at the Terry Funk and Ric Flair thing. That looks like a man that is manic.
Now,
and obviously the presentation of the two characters will probably be different. But the actual presentation of that... no.
No, I like it, right? And I'd like the angle in general. Actually, I thought there was a lot of great things about the angle.
But if Moxley just comes out and does his move,
no,
same impact.
No, it's not same impact.
Yeah, it is.
No, we won't be here talking about it. We wouldn't have had the whole world talking about it. The whole
world wasn't talking about
the whole wrestling, the X/Twitter. No, was but they weren't painful.
They were talking about Swerve and Hangman, though.
They were also talking about this, the handbag.
You're doing it on the same show as Swerve and Hangman. You get that impact over more. Forget about this. You can do that on the Dynamite.
You could, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Look, Brian, I did it. Bang.
Do you know why I think they did it not on Dynamite?
Because of Warner.
Not just because of television. Yeah, I think because of television, there's certain things that you can do on pay-per-view that you can't do on TV. Yeah. So I think that's why it had to take place.
It didn't. I was looking at it going, this looks hokey and stupid. In the realms of pro wrestling, is he actually trying to murder him? Is that what I'm looking at? But now we've
you can apply that logic to absolutely anything.
The Rock and Stone Cold getting thrown over a bridge and all that kind of stuff.
I love that too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I get that.
But one of the things that hurt me the most ever, actually, it really impacted my fandom. Remember when they did the 6-man Hell in a Cell? Armageddon.
Rikishi goes off the...
Yeah, and clearly onto the hair.
Yeah.
At the time I was like... David De Gea. At the time I was like, oh, that just looks crap. And so this kind of... And bear with me, because I'm actually making a point. A couple of years before that, we see Mick Foley go off the top of the cell.
Absolutely.
And and then it's every time WWE, for a few years, not this stigma or this stereotype went away as someone has to go off the cell. And then that was their way of doing it safely. And it was a thing of they couldn't top the original. So where do you go now?
Exactly. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
And I know that's going back into your...
Where does the angle with Bryan Danielson go now? That he's tried to kill him. Kill him. Especially after the angle with Bryan saying, I love my kids, blah, 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 blah. He tried to kill him.
Yeah, I loved it.
That's what he did. Rikishi tried to kill Stone Cold in a car.
Knocked him down. I don't want to get into comparison and all that as the teeth of joy, and some of them things were 24 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But what I loved about, and I know we both watched during the week the Terry Funk Ric Flair spot too, and that was done very differently. What I'm really enjoying about Mox's new direction is how cold it is.
Yeah, he's taken from Russell Crowe Romper Stomper.
Yeah, great film, by the way. I had it on DVD many years ago. And it's just this cold deadness. And yet, they could have done it in a different way in terms of the presentation execution of the more manic Terry Funk type thing. But it was so cold. And Pac is perfect for that coldness. Claudio can play that coldness. Marina Shafir so far is doing a pretty good job in it. I know you don't.
I like a finish.
It's a good finish, actually, yeah. And I don't know, like, you know, what her long-term upside is, but, like, she can do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's good to see somebody else in the women's division get kind of that level of presentation.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is, right, so two extremely violent things. And that's not even to say Pac taking Will Ospreay taking a German suplex on the apron, which is an extremely violent. Which is an extremely so much.
And also like the pile drivers in the MJF Daniel Garcia match.
Exactly, like so much violence that you're desensitized when you get to it, because it's a logic jump in my head, like when WWE did that Army of Dead Zombies thing. And I'm like, how do I take
that's
your main...
not a fair comparison.
No, but like I'm saying a logic jump. How do you take what's going to come next in the show seriously if you're already saying this is what my world is? And I'm like, no, I was invested in the world, and now you're bringing in these zombies, and now you're bringing in asphyxiations. And
like the plastic bag spot isn't the zombies.
It's a logic jump. That's all I'm saying. Was he trying to murder him?
No, he was trying to make him pass out. I think that's clear. He's not going to like try to murder him.
JR was pure disgusted. Like I was looking at that going,
that was JR's best what would you call it, best performance in about 10 years, I'd say.
And then we get to the main event, right? We get to the main event. Weapons are already getting thrown in. He's trying to kill him on the cage at the start.
That was brilliant.
It was very good.
That was brilliant.
But that looks like it's a struggle. This is it, right? He gets out a wooden stake from the house that he burnt down.
Yeah.
They got out cinder blocks, right? And the cinder block looks real by all accounts. Like the actual scrape on Adam Page's back looked what?
Agonizing.
And you know, and it's all these things are little ties in with the character. Then Swerve gets powerbombed onto a cinder block, and Tony Schiavone on commentary starts laughing. And he gets up. What am I watching? This is meant to be like the most violent thing that you're ever going to see in a wrestling ring. And Tony Schiavone is laughing after.
You can I was laughing at times. I was like, what the fuck is this?
That's a parody then. It's not a parody. It's a parody of wrestling.
I wasn't laughing out of like, this is funny to me. I'm laughing out of, this is fucking mental.
Do you need, like, when do we get to a stage?
We said we weren't going to curse. When do we get to a
stage of someone going bite the steps and doing an American history X on it? And I know that might seem ridiculous.
Mox might do it pretty soon.
Yeah, but I know that but I know that might seem ridiculous, but no, it's not going to be.
No,
and he'll be off for a week, and then whoever he does that, and then they'll come back. Yeah. Like there's no stakes in that. Forgive my. You know, he tried to stab him with a stake.
Look, but
like when the crowd are chanting,
Swerve's off TV now for a while. He's going to be gone for at least a month.
When the crowd are chanting, "We want tables," murder. That's annoying, right?
I hate the "we want tables."
Yeah, we want fire. You're like, oh, good. We want murder.
We don't want murder either. I don't want fire. I don't want murder.
Like, where do you
most of the time I don't even want tables.
Where do you keep pushing the wrestling?
But like everything that was done in that main event has been done before.
Yeah.
There was nothing new there.
Like, they
haven't pushed it anywhere new.
I think when
broken new ground.
When you have someone doing the splits onto thumbtacks, which goes into an asphyxiation angle, it was a great spot.
The splits,
it was.
Like, objectively, I was not, I popped hard for that. I was not expecting the splits onto thumbtacks.
It was good, right? Yeah. The asphyxiation spot. And then
which I enjoyed, I thought. And have you seen Dynamite this week?
No.
Did you watch the Eve Just the Show opening? What do you call it? Like video package of Mox and the boys after. I thought that was some cold-hearted, badass shit, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm all on board."
No, I know. I seen Mox his actual promos the first time in a long time that I was like,
you responded. You said this is the most I've been into Mox in ages or whatever. Yeah.
Like he came across very well, and I know from a broader perspective of a story, right? Grand. I just don't know where you go from it now. Well, I think if you have multiple people doing this type of wrestling on your show, no one stands out.
When was the last?
Like he sticks his syringe in his mouth.
When was the last time? I know. Yeah, that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah,
maybe because people have fear of needles and so on. But that was like holy shit spot.
You know what the best
was it more violent or was it more viscerally violent than their Texas Death match last year?
I don't know, the drinking of the blood, but that was cool. You know what my favorite spot in that whole cage match was?
Go on.
is when Swerve does the drive-by kick into the cage.
That was deadly, yeah.
That was like, right, I don't think they needed all that shenanigans, all that stuff in there.
They probably didn't need
just
all of it.
Maybe just one prop.
What I did like as well, though, was I feel like, and I know there's been hand-wringing online about unprotected chair shots to the head. That's a heavily gimmicked chair. What's like, if you're not, like, what's the difference between that and we see it every friggin' 2 weeks? We see people get the bin to the head.
Is it worth doing if they have to pull to a wide so you don't see how flimsy it looks?
Well, I didn't think it looked, because I have seen it from other angles. Yeah, it didn't look flimsy.
It pulls to a wide though.
I think that was just to sell that was a production choice to sell the impact.
I think you could hear the gasp of the crowd. What I read was, and maybe it's wrong, but what I read was that they didn't want it to look bad when it was close up.
I don't know, because did you see? And that there was a deadly. If you can find it, there's a deadly crowd video going around from what looks like about 7-8 rows back, and it looked badass. No, maybe they were concerned it wouldn't look badass.
Yeah.
But I thought they were selling the impact of it. And I thought the production choice came from, let's let the people at home, do you know, like a horror movie?
No, I'll give you the best example. Scarface, when your man is tied up in the shower.
Yes.
And they have the camera pans. They have the chainsaw, and you don't see it. It's implied violence.
Yeah. The camera pans to the street. Yeah. Yes. Beautiful shot.
But it's implied violence.
Implied violence. I thought that's what they were going for. I thought our reaction at home was supposed to be based on the gasp of the audience in the arena. And that's what I thought they were going for.
But do you think that had the requisite impact, considering all the other stuff that they did? So Swerve gets knocked out. The ref calls it.
Straight,
right?
Almost instantly, yeah.
Yeah, the ref calls it.
Which I thought was a good idea as well.
Yeah, but considering all the other stuff that they had done in the match.
Yeah, but all right, say the other stuff, and I know what you mean, but say the other stuff in the match, right? Everything else looked super sore. But nothing was head trauma knockout. Do you get me?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the staples, were they needed?
Well, that's a callback to the previous
match. But as an actual thing, and
that just looked.
I know Necro Butcher would have used it all back in the day.
See, but
I felt
they needed the staples because of the Texas Death Match last year.
How do staples help you win a wrestling match?
They don't, but they hurt.
Okay, so
no, but think of this feud in general. This is would you say it's the hottest, most violent feud in AEW history? Yeah. What's more violent? Nothing. I know Mox has had violent matches and stuff, but nothing has had this level of heat and hate for such a sustained period of time. And I think in a lot of cases, particularly the early stages of the matches, it's not about winning, it's about revenge. For both of them.
Let's go back to a thing that Mox, or Dean Ambrose as he was called, and the purported gimmick or purported angle that he wanted to run with Mick Foley.
Yes.
About you ruined
wrestling,
a generation of wrestling, because of the way that you pushed your body to the limits, your death matches, your whole tenure,
your stunts,
your whole tenure as a hardcore legend. You've ruined a generation of wrestling. Is this a result of what Mick Foley did? Because Mick Foley, in my mind, is a legend, and he stands out.
Mick Foley's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Yeah,
but where does it go now after this? That's
what I'm saying, though. It's it's not. None of this is new. None of it. Nothing we saw is new.
Is it needed though? It's a niche type of wrestling.
Yeah,
right.
But see, here's the thing: you break this out once in a while.
But that type of I would enjoy more so Stone Cold and Bret Hart WrestleMania 13.
One of my favorite matches
in
ever.
my mind. That is violent.
Look,
Ilya Dragunov and Gunter. NXT.
That's, in some ways,
that's more violent.
More violent.
Probably, but I like that kind of visceral. Vader and Mick Foley in WCW, and he was actually punching the heads off. So I don't know.
Some of my favorite wrestling is the King's Road stuff from All Japan in the 90s. That is that, Walter, Gunter, is heavily influenced by that style.
You look at Misawa and Kenta, like they were all broken down.
Look what happened to Misawa. He died in the ring because his neck was goosed.
So you look, I'm not using the Miz as like the upper echelon of wrestling, but like what he's been able to do for 20 years.
I've never once, ever, I've watched the Miz for 20 years. I've never felt anything in any of his matches.
Okay.
Like if the world of pro wrestling was populated by people like the Miz, and it's not a shot at the Miz, because like the Miz is a fine professional wrestler, I wouldn't watch it.
But the world of pro wrestling is great because it can be anything.
Exactly.
And
here's actually another point on
things lose its impact the more you do it. Canadian Destroyers. If everyone's doing Canadian Destroyer,
this is what AEW needs to do.
It's someone taking a Canadian Destroyer, firing up, and then hitting another Canadian. What was that?
AEW should not do a show like this for another 12 months. Like a show with that condensed level of violence. Like,
but they've been ramping up to this.
Well, yeah, they had to build to it though.
But I'm saying, like, as a product,
here's another
they've been ramping up to this type of style.
If you go back to I think what happened is,
what was Anarchy in the Arena?
But that
was fucking nonsense.
If you go back to the early days of AEW, it was heavily populated with this kind of stuff.
It wasn't heavily populated, but you had the likes of Joey Janela, you had Jimmy Havoc, you know, you had but they were doing their own thing, you know what I mean?
I know, but
and like every now and again,
more title fights with Omega and Mox and stuff.
Barbed wire
exploding
the back. But that's good as a niche, and I don't think they really massively push the envelope. But they're bumping, like you're getting a Phoenix Splash onto bare boards, right?
Well,
and remember when they ripped up the canvas and stuff?
Yeah.
They did a Phoenix Splash, and like I think
that looked so sore.
But like they're fucking killing each other.
But then you
didn't even remember it.
No, I got. When you said Phoenix Splash, I couldn't picture that.
That should be something like the Hell in a Cell that sticks out in your mind.
Because
like TLC.
Every company has a load of mad stuff, and only a few of them end up being that thing that lasts for 20 years. Mick Foley flying off the top.
Do you think what they did at All Out was going to last for 20 years?
No, I think, and this isn't. I think. Look, here's my thing with the match. I thought it was a really good match. Out of their 4 matches, it was probably only the third best.
Okay.
I think the thing that will last the test of time in terms of a single visual that lasts the test of time, like as the defining thing that you can put on a video package in 15 years is, and you could never be topped, was Adam Page drinking Swerve's blood and spitting it in the air. They could, like, no matter what they did, that was such symbolically and viscerally cool image.
There you go.
It couldn't be topped, but the feud wasn't over.
They didn't have to get powerbombed onto cinder blocks, attempt to stab someone with a stake, actually stab someone with a syringe.
I'm sure the syringe was gimmick, was it?
Well, I don't know. But like I'm saying, they didn't have to do that because that image, being creative, that image and that insinuation of perverse violence that runs within Adam Page was enough.
But that's a year
and that to me is what wrestling can be. You know, like,
but see,
you've seen the JBL documentary that we've done, right? And in that,
the Eddie Guerrero stuff, like, I know that was an accident,
but in that there's heavily, it's the actual documentary, which will be released on the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show, could be released by the time we're watching this
soon.
Yeah, like in that, there's a lot of talk about believability.
Yeah,
JBL was a very believable asshole, right? There's talks about Vader, there's talks about Mick Foley. That's the way they are. Like, it's not believable to me that Hangman is literally going to stab him with a thing.
I actually thought they'd figure out a way to do it, like, because these two guys, Hangman and Swerve, are extremely creative people. Like, we can see that from this feud in, like, its entirety. We can take a step back now and look at the whole picture of this feud. This was probably something that was supposed to last 2 or 3 months. And then it got massively over. And they, like, every step they made with this feud, in hindsight, was actually the right step.
Did you pop for, like, any false finishes or something in throughout AEW All Out? Were you popping?
There was a few in the Pac Will Ospreay match that I popped
like
for.
Something like a false finish when it gets overdone. You're just like,
But
see, the story, I'm not saying the Hangman Swerve story isn't right.
This false finish talk, because
that's what wrestling is. Yeah.
I know. I remember, like, I remember this being a thing. Was it 2016? Was that one Edge and Cena? Was it 2016 or 17? Edge and Cena. 16 SummerSlam.
16, yeah.
And like I remember like people on Twitter afterwards, and I loved that match. Like that was the best wrestling match I'd seen in ages at the time. I was like, yes, this is deadly again. You know, I've been waiting a while. And I remember going on like Twitter afterwards, and like people complaining about false finishes. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
This was a great match that made people feel something. And instantly we're talking about false finishes. That's just fucking wrestling.
So the way they've left it now is Swerve is gone.
Yeah.
Hangman
probably
is
gone for a month or two, I suppose.
Yeah, Hangman. So did they meet again?
Well, I don't see how, like, I don't know. Like, will they meet again? I'm sure. But you keep them apart now in some capacity for maybe 10 to 12 months. I don't think they can have a singles match in the next.
I'm just trying to go, where do they go from that match? And where does wrestling as a whole for AEW? Because WWE, that's their own universe now that they have. And I want to talk about Bash of Berlin just for a while.
We'll get to that, but I want to make a kind of bigger point on the AEW side of the violence here. To me, this was a smart move to lean into the violence, because they're at a point now where 2023 was such a calamity for audience trust, because they became
fucking game. I hate that AEW fight forever. You fucking stole my money, Tony Khan. €100.
I didn't buy it.
Yeah,
you're an idiot. You bought the.
What do you mean I'm an idiot? I will try to support AEW.
Well, you bought the super expensive edition, didn't you?
Because I was going to get all the DLC. What, fucking 4 wrestlers, about 18 minigames. No one wants to play a Mario Party style game with wrestling skins. They just want a wrestling game. That's all we want. Give us a fucking creation suite.
With a good career mode.
And a fucking career mode. Sorry, I wasn't meant to curse on this podcast.
No, I did it ages ago.
And a career mode. A long-standing career mode.
I want a 2-year
I don't care about online. I just want to be invested as a like TW or whatever. You get invested in the universe, just like in real wrestling.
Oh yeah, I love TW.
Don't have me in a career mode going out for food and taking selfies in different cities. No one cares. No one cares. No one wants in the WWE 2K games to be going, right, there's 4 people staring at me in the locker room. I'll go talk to him. I'll go talk to him. Present the interactions as what you would see on television. Let me invest myself within the universe. You want a wrestling style simulation 2K? Do that. If you want to have a fun little game, don't do what you did with AEW Fight Forever, because it's a crock of shit, and I want my money back.
I think you'd probably get your money back if you want. No,
I'll never buy. I used to buy different consoles, like the GameCube, because they'd have Day of Reckoning. They'd have WrestleMania 18, Day of Reckoning 2. I buy the Xbox because they had Raw 2, and WrestleMania 21, and then of course PlayStation with all the SmackDowns and SmackDown versus Raws. I used to buy them all. And then everyone got lazy. I had Legends of Wrestling. I bought Legends of Wrestling 1, 2, and 3. I bought the TNA game. I bought Legends of WrestleMania. Why? Because I love wrestling games, and they're all gone to the dogs. Thank God for Community Creations, all you champions out there.
They are the champions, because wrestling games, and this has been the case for 10 years? Longer, man. Longer. 15 years.
More. SmackDown versus Raw 2006, probably. I would enjoy that ever since then. I'm like, why am I buying these?
20 years of shit wrestling.
Why am I buying these?
The last WWE one I bought was like 2016 or 17.
Terrible.
Absolute dog shit.
I remember I got 2016 Christmas. I was like, I'm going to play this Christmas Day. And all it was loading screens. That's all it was. Anyway, look, where were we?
Well, I don't know where we were. Oh, no. So, sorry. Yeah, I was making a point on... so, right. AEW had their calamitous 2023 in terms of, I didn't think the product was terrible, but it leaned in a direction that pissed off a lot of their core audience and what they wanted AEW to be. And it became a worse version of WWE. Because WWE was starting to kick off at the time, and they were doing their sports entertainment thing better than AEW could ever do it. What I've seen in the last 12 months is AEW shift more, 10 months, shift more back to being what they were at the start, being the alternative. And to be the alternative,
you have to do
this type of stuff from time to time.
I think I am genuinely interested more in the story.
But they're like,
And like, you know,
no, I'm not going to let this story thing filter in because Swerve Hangman.
I'm not saying they didn't have a story.
It didn't. They had a great story.
The story is better. It could have been better served as opposed to what they delivered there.
I don't like. I think
Like I love
we're
this.
going to be talking about.
I love the
Swerve
story.
Hangman's
I love the
feud
story
for
of
20
John
years.
Cena and Umaga, and the the final, like how he in the last man standing match or whatever, how he ends up getting that win. That'll stick out in my mind.
Like that, I think to me that's one of Cena's best ever matches.
Yeah, that sticks out in my mind. I don't think because what they've done is stuff that I've seen in tournaments of deaths in CZW.
A lot of people haven't though. A lot of people who watched last Saturday night haven't seen any of that.
Do you think then people who haven't seen it, who haven't been desensitized to it, are going to stick around?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think a lot of people like you remember when we were young, right? And ECW came along, and you heard about it. I remember hearing about ECW before I ever saw it, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on some ECW tapes.
Yeah.
I think the All Out pay-per-view could, I'm not saying it does or will, but has the potential.
It's a different era though. So
yeah,
you're looking at the 90s. You're looking at South Park, Jerry Springer, Car Crash TV, Attitude Era. You're looking at people are just mad boys. I think we're living in a different world now.
Perhaps. We'll see.
You know, like...
What I also liked about All Out as well
maybe
is...
people are sick of it because like R-rated movies are making a comeback now.
True. Yeah, we're seeing more, yeah.
I'm just being a curmudgeon maybe, like because that's the stuff I would have loved back.
Yeah,
like
I loved that.
I remember the first time Sabu and Abyss had a barbed wire in TNA.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to see that.
I remember that as well. Like,
I remember the Monster Balls matches with Jeff Hardy diving off the top of the, and he goes over the ramp.
Underground.
Yeah,
like that's not that long ago. 10 years, even less maybe.
it's a fine balance. So
it is a fine balance, and I do like but it's also a thing of like. Again, I'm going to lean back to that idea of being the alternative. If you're not. It's impossible to compete with WWE in sports entertainment.
Do you think with the violence that they did with Swerve and Hangman, that just say Jacob Fatu as a wrestler just looks more violent naturally without having to do any of that? When Jacob Fatu hits a super kick, does his moonsault, like that looks visceral. I think
you get that and like you get that in so many different ways, you know what I mean? Like that's just like Walter. And I know like WWE I don't think have been doing a great job of pairing Walter up in world title fights with the people he can have.
He started.
No, like I mean just in the last couple of months.
Damien, but he won off Damien Priest at SummerSlam. He's had one defense against Randy Orton.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because of how Gunter got the...
I don't disagree. And I think he will have a great run.
Now he's going up against Sammy.
Yeah, and here's my thing, right?
Sammy is the man that bet him for his last title.
No, logical storytelling, you are 100% correct. But what I mean by it is, Gunter is the most viscerally violent wrestler without having to do anything other than stand in the ring and hit you with his open palm. There's nobody can do it like him in the world at the moment.
And even that is something that we've discussed as, you know, an issue for some.
Yeah,
Bret
it's not an issue for me.
Bret Hart said
hates it.
He wants to ban it. That's what he said recently.
I love it. And I liked the Damien Priest match. And I actually remember coming on here, we did the review. I thought it elevated Priest in my mind to a new level. I was like, Mr. Priest, I apologize, I was unfamiliar with your game. But I think, like, Randy Orton isn't the style of wrestler. He's more like Bret Hart style in terms of, like, what he's willing and will or won't do or whatever. And I look great wrestler.
The thing is, right, when he took a shot, like, the intrigue for me going into King and Queen of the Ring was... Orton's not going to fucking
play this game. Yeah.
He's not going to get chopped the shit out of.
Yeah.
So when he does, you're like,
but I also do think though that Gunter's two worst matches of like the last 18-month run or 2-year run have probably been the two.
I like Basher Berlin in the main event
matches. I thought they were both decent matches, like, but I just think in terms of what like
they served the purpose.
They did so absolutely, but I think of like Gunter is. I think he's one of the like, top 3-5. Definitely top 10 wrestlers in the world. Like, I think he can have way better matches than that. I'm not saying they were bad matches. Like, Gunter's floor Like, the worst Gunter match you're going to see is like probably 4.25 stars, like, you know? Like, that's his floor. That's how good he is. But like, I think obviously when you see what he can do with Dragunov and stuff, like, I don't think we're going to see that level of Gunter's violence in this title run, which to me is kind of like, fuck it, that's the Gunter I love to watch.
Yeah, but he could, like, you know, they could be building up. They will be building up people.
I'm sure, yeah.
I enjoyed Bash of Berlin, and that's a completely different show.
Yeah,
like, and that's not a show with a very violent show.
No, it wasn't.
I like Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Maybe the conflict thing of, will I do it? Won't I do it? That has been done a lot recently in wrestling.
See, like, we're watching multiple companies.
Yeah,
like if this was 7 or 8 years ago
with the Tiger Driver. That's what I was thinking.
Like if this 7 or 8 years ago, and you're only watching one company, like, I don't blame WWE for doing that. Right, that's fine. Because, like, you can't say, fuck, AEW used that a few weeks ago, we can't use it now. You, like, really, like, for the most part, it's a totally different audience.
But as a face versus face match, I thought it was quite a good match.
Like, generally,
who was the face in Swerve and Hangman?
Swerve. Obviously, it's the second Hangman burned his house down.
But Swerve just turned heel again for Danielson.
I don't think he turned heel for Danielson. He was just the tweener for that feud.
He was like, I'm going to... Yeah, like, that's a heel. He's saying heel stuff.
He was playing heel in that program.
So he was a heel?
He's not a heel. Like, we've been saying this for years about
Shawn Michaels turned heel against Hulk Hogan for that 1 month. And I was like, what the...
Yeah, that was weird too.
Yeah.
But I didn't... Yeah, Swerve
is a heel, wins the championship, becomes a baby face, because could be a big overstar, becomes a heel again, and then he's a face within... Like, this is...
But these aren't... Like, they're not turns. Like, the difference is here is Swerve didn't do
it's nuanced, I suppose.
His character didn't change.
It's nuanced.
It's crowd reaction. Yeah. So like this, you know, like what I'm saying is he played heel is when the bell rang and they're in the ring together, he did the heel stuff. Vice versa with Hangman. When the bell rang and they're in the ring together, Hangman did the heel stuff. Also, Hangman burnt his house down.
I think maybe...
Can I make a point on this as well, actually, that I haven't seen talked about much? How effective that burning the house down angle was. All Out was set to be an absolute disaster of a pay-per-view in terms of tickets sold in the arena. And then they did the house burning angle, and within 3 days, they sold out the rest of the tickets. Hangman's a fucking star.
It was a good angle. Yeah. It was like it catches your attention. Even if you want to argue, going,
it's hokey, it's stupid.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Sold a heap of tickets.
Yeah, like, and I know there might be a bit of a logic jump going, why aren't the cops getting involved? They committed arson on TV. It's
wrestling. Like we've seen Stone Cold going off a bridge.
We've seen, crucifixions in wrestling.
Yeah, Mr. McMahon's...
Brian Pillman burst off a gun. We've seen people being kidnapped.
Yeah.
You look at the JBL documentary and literally, is it Joy Giovanni or somebody shows up in the trunk of a car and Kurt Angle was like, it was me.
And also he was down at the border rounding up Mexican immigrants.
Yeah, but I don't think...
Like when people make this thing, I'm like, I'm watching a fucking TV show, leave me alone.
Yeah, I just... Like, even when we look at that JBL document, you can tell by my voice even that I was just not into it.
Into what part?
Into the Joy Giovanni.
Yeah.
Well, look, you're just like, this is silly and hokey.
That wasn't exactly JBL's fault, though. He was a good bit into his run as champion then, and the booking got super fucking
I know,
weird.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, even back then, I was like, when Abyss did hardcore wrestling, I was like, yeah, that's Abyss. That's what he does. Right? So that's what you're expecting. When Shawn Michaels goes up against Mick Foley and Shawn Michaels has to get an extra bit of a rough edge, speaking of him,
Randy
Orton, Triple H, when they do it, they have to go to a different psychological level, which is going to up their game when they go against Mick Foley. They have to, because that's what Mick Foley does, right? So it makes that feel big. Whereas I don't think they've accomplished anybody really leveling up out of All Out. I think what they did is
Hangman does.
They did a lot.
To me, Willow feels more over now as well. Do you not think so?
No.
God, man, I felt Willow was super over at the end of that.
No, it's just my interest.
I think Hangman's character has leveled up.
I'm speaking from a personal perspective, it wasn't until maybe Mox's promo on Dynamite, where I was like, he's a bit more interesting now.
No, I also think Hangman as well. There was a beautiful moment at the end
if Hangman becomes like a Mick Foley, if that's what he does, like every time someone's getting into the ring with Hangman, you're going to be like,
I also
if he goes back to Buckshot Larry and people, and you're like, eh.
No, I think
now he has an edge, so he needs to push it.
What I think you need to do with that is, like, that needs to lurk. It needs to lurk. We all know now that Hangman has this dark place. He can never go back. No, not.
Should he
never.
not be busting mofos though?
Yeah, sure.
He's
gone into a blood feud with Jeff Jarrett now, and he's going to be deadly.
He's already been in a dark, like he's in that dark place. Yeah. So should he not be? No, that's his style now.
Yeah, he does. But no, I don't want that. Like, you can't. That can't be his style. He can't just be like hard. Like, because Mick Foley towards, like, in Mick Foley's great run when he did the stuff with The Rock and into Triple H and onto Edge and onto Orton. Like,
he was an orator though. You have to remember that too. Like, his way with words is special.
But like, also,
but in the way he
80% of his matches weren't that.
Yeah, 90%. I know. But the way he wrestled, like, for the way he took the steps in the corner.
He was the best ever at
like, he'd run his knees into it.
Yeah,
just little,
probably not the best.
Little things like that, like the different things. I do think
Hangman stylistically, since he's come back into the tournament over the summer, Dion, has been wrestling with a greater level of intensity.
Yeah, and it's something that we've complained about. Say, if the Demon Finn Balor, like, I don't think
that the whole time.
He just doesn't change.
Yeah,
I don't want to get stuck on All Out. I really don't, because I want to talk about wrestling and
as a whole
and violence.
Like, yeah, because like I had an issue with one thing on the Bash of Berlin show.
Okay,
and I'm not trying to punk bash here, because I know I make a lot of jokes about how much I hate punk. I don't hate punk. I prefer
that strap match than the cage match.
God, I didn't, not by a long shot. I just thought, like, again, like,
few spots.
This is supposed to be your blood feud for the year.
No, they had a Hell in a Cell. They're going to have a blow off now in the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, but like, again, I just don't think they're being put in a position to actually be able to effectively sell the violence of it.
I think they're ramping it up. They're building it up. Yeah. Like, if they go into the Hell in a Cell now, it's their personal cinder blocks and syringes.
That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen.
CM Punk burns Drew McIntyre's house down, or
that'd be awesome.
If Drew McIntyre kills Larry the dog,
like, kill Larry. Oh yeah, no, don't.
You son of a.
But like, yeah, I just don't think, like, the strap match. Deep down inside, what did Punk want to do with the strap match? He wanted to do essentially the level of violence he did with MJF in the dog collar match, and you just can't do that in WWE. So, like, the fact that I'd seen
the dog collar match with MJF, perfect wrestling.
Phenomenal. One of the best, like, not in terms of like execution of moves or whatever. It wasn't the best match ever.
Fight.
It was excellent.
It just looked like two lads that wanted to kick the ever living. Excellent. And that's what I want. That. So that's what I want from AEW.
So my issue there is, right,
a magnificent story told between two men who are so eloquent when it comes to promos. Then they get in the ring and they just brawl it out. Right? They brawl it out.
Wait, hang on. Are you describing Swerve Hangman or Punk MJF?
Punk MJF.
Because to me, that sounds you're perfectly describing.
They didn't brawl it out. They didn't brawl it out. They tried to murder each other.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
But they tried to murder each other.
Yeah,
but I thought both of, like, I do think in terms of, like, my favorite feuds in AEW history, the top three are in no particular order, because I have, like, I'm hate doing a list, but Punk MJF, Hangman Kenny, and Hangman Swerve.
Right.
I think they're all, like, similar level of.
Let's talk about
brilliance.
Like, say Brody.
Yeah.
Brody and Cody.
Great. That's right up there too.
Brody and Cody, the first match where he just beats him. Like,
if
that's
when they did the dog collar, and if they had an audience, imagine, like, I think that'd be one of these legendary matches of all time.
It's violence done right, in my opinion.
But there's no wrong or right.
Yeah, but for my personal taste.
Okay, yes.
That's what everything should be. These are all my personal opinions, and my taste will change over the years. I don't watch Saw movies anymore.
Either do I. I hate them. I don't watch any horror movies.
I don't watch Hostel. I used to love those gory stuff growing up.
I watched Maxine last week, and even that was a bit too much for me.
Yeah, but these things in particular were all, neck breaking, blood and gore and I used to I used to enjoy that stuff. Dead Snow, I haven't watched it in years. I'm sure I'm still going to like it.
Never seen that.
It's zombies and stuff, but you're killing. It's kind of a comedy in a sense as well, and I can get behind that because I'm not taking it too seriously. With Saw nowadays, I wouldn't go back and watch anything because you're just like, I
remember when Saw 4 was coming out in the cinema,
but that's what Swerve and Hangman was to me. It was like a Saw movie.
There's also a place for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's rare. Like nobody I would say in the history of mainstream wrestling. Like mainstream, I'm talking the number 1/2 companies in the world. I don't think there's ever been a match as quite like that last Swerve Hangman match.
Okay, well, also before that though, there was another attempted murder
with the asphyxiation.
Yeah,
you call it murder. I call it a bit of.
Maybe we're not even allowed to talk about this on YouTube. Even
I don't know.
We're gonna get straight. Let's talk about I grew up liking violence.
Yeah. So my issue with the
I
Punk.
think we're going all over the shop.
Yeah, we are jumping everywhere. My issue with the Punk Drew match was I had seen him do the step better not long before, and I hate the corner tapping.
Yeah.
I also I've said this I think on Cam stream live before.
OnlyFans.
Ladder matches are dead to me. I don't want to watch any more ladder matches.
No ladder matches.
I'm the same with nearly all steps that aren't pin or submission at the end of it.
Because all the same spots happen.
Yeah.
You look at the Elimination Chamber, someone's going through the plexiglass.
Yes.
You look at...
someone's hanging off the top and dropping down.
Yeah, you look at ladder matches, you're having the same spots all the time. You have the... To be fair to Chelsea Green, that was a killer bump, but we've seen that bump numerous times.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same effect.
No. And the thing is
then it comes to the actual wrestling. When you have someone having a wrestling match, you're like, well, I've just seen someone try to be murdered.
Yeah, but also
or setting up a table, knowing. When they start setting up stacking tables on the outside for that ladder spot, you're
we all know it's coming. But let's go back, right? What's your kind of first encounter with super hardcore wrestling?
I think.
Are we counting The Rock and Foley?
I was about to say, I think that's something that stands out to me. Royal Rumble '99.
I think that's my first. Obviously I'd seen WWE hardcore matches before that.
Yeah.
But that one to me had a particular grisliness to it.
There was. And I remember feeling so... Because when he was beating Mick Foley with those unprotected chair shots, Mick Foley took the bump off the stage or off the crowd onto the electric box and
to what would look like his hip.
The sparks flied up.
Yeah.
His arms are tied behind his back. But in your head, they have, after building up this indestructible Mick Foley character, you're like... He's never going to say I quit. What's going? You'd almost want to throw in the towel for him.
Yeah,
what's going to He's going to. You're fearful.
Yeah.
As a young person, you're fearful.
I was 14,
and then he said it, and you were like, "What? Has Mick Foley let me down?"
Yeah.
I was only 10.
Yeah.
Has Mick Foley let me down? I'm like,
that was.
And then you find
impact of that.
And then you find out the next night he was robbed.
What's your first encounter of indie death match?
The Wrestling Channel CZW.
Okay, yeah, I see. I missed a lot of that.
But that was my first encounter with the indie style, Ring of Honor. Getting to see Ring of Honor. I remember the first time I seen Jack Evans and he's doing flips, or Teddy Hart doing the flips off the cage. And you're like, what? And then you see the Tournament of Death and you see Zandig. I used to love Zandig.
John Zandig, one of my early, early 2000s, oh my God, this whole other world exists.
Yeah, and the backseat boys, that was Trent Acid. I can't remember the other guy's name. You had the the Hatred Club, or Nick Cage and Nate Hatred.
Nate Hatred, yeah.
You know, they were all cool things to watch growing up, and then you start hearing about Necro Butcher. You're like, oh, and then YouTube comes out, and you're like, kind of,
you can see bits of Necro Butcher matches, and then like on Daily Motion, you can see full Necro Butcher.
And then going down to Roller Coaster Records and getting a DVD that says Backyard Wrestling Volume 2, and you're like, what?
What is this?
This is class, and you're seeing.
And then you go like,
and then the video game comes out, and you're starting to see clips of Sick Nick Mundo with the Weed Whacker.
Yeah,
like that's going to happen on AEW. Someone's going to get a Weed Whacker.
Well, we already had they've done when Nick Cage came in,
the pizza cutter.
The pizza cutter, you know.
Yeah, but
which
see the
greatest moment of Dynamite history.
The pizza cutter is and I remember reading Mox's book, or Mox talking about it, is that he had, like, say, a blunt knife on the end of a thing, and it was just smearing blood, but it looked like he was cutting them open. So I don't think the pizza cutter is a...
No, that's blunt.
It's proper.
Yeah. It's blunt. That's blunt as shit. Like, you've already juiced, and now this is just squeezing the blood out.
And I remember being enamored by it. Yeah. And like that, like growing up, and you're watching, say, Batista have a main event match, and you're like,
or the 20th Cena main event in a row.
Cena against Great Khali, you're like, But then, like, you know, you're coming off the end of a JBL kind of run where...
The JBL Eddie Guerrero, wasn't the strap match with the blood? It was on before that.
Yeah,
it was blood in the strap match too.
Judgment Day, and there was blood all over the shop.
Yeah,
but
that was a botch.
Even JBL and John Cena, where the guy quit match, John Cena's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And, like, JBL quits when John Cena comes at him with a lead pipe. He's like, I quit. Don't hit me.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah. And then I start going on to TNA, and you start watching Abyss.
The Abyss, yeah.
You get Abyss.
Had some
but Abyss stands out.
Matches there, like.
Abyss stands out, and you're like, this is what Abyss does. So anytime anyone goes against Abyss, like, I remember him and AJ Styles at Lockdown 2005. I was like, AJ is going to be locked in a cage with this beast of a man. This is going to be sick.
Yeah.
And then Abyss gets beaten down after a while. Vince Russo booking with last rites with Sting and all that.
Look, that shit got nonsense there towards the end, and then they had Abyss in a suit and all this kind of stuff.
And then just wrestling, just everyone started doing everything. No one stood out as anything in particular. You know, like, you have Canadian destroyers now off ladders to the outside.
But see, when we say,
and you're like, when Pete Williams did a Canadian destroyer, I know, that was the finish.
I know, but like, Jesus Christ, when Jake Roberts did a DDT,
but should stuff not be protected?
No,
because if you go to a wrestling show, like, someone could use their finish could be a DDT now.
Yeah,
someone's finish
like a headlock takeover was a finish.
Yeah.
Now it's
a scoop slam was a finish, a hard punch,
the second move of the match.
Yeah, but these things can
lock up into a headlock takeover.
I think certain things need to be protected.
Some things need to be protected, but I think there's a couple of things. Like, I never got the thing of, and it's always an example being used. A Canadian destroyer never looked that impactful to me anyway. Like, flip moves in general don't. A Spanish fly doesn't look impactful to me.
As we talk about in the JBL, we're basically doing the whole documentary. Give me a Vader punch over a Spanish fly. Yeah,
like, a lot of them moves don't look. So when people say, like, the Canadian destroyer needs to be protected more, I'm like, to me, in general, that's one of the moves that actually doesn't really need to be.
You know what it is? No,
well, other moves do. Like a DDT, I suppose in some ways a DDT is kind of still protected because Moxley uses variations thereof as his finisher. But like, God almighty, like, what was I watching recently? Cody Rhodes against Solo Sikoa. Was it Solo? I think it was.
SummerSlam. Or the cage match.
I watched the cage match this morning, but it wasn't the cage match. But he also did it in the cage match. But it was the one in SummerSlam. It was like Cody Rhodes has just done 3... No, it was the Kevin Owens match.
Crossroads.
He did 3 Crossroads on Kevin Owens.
That's a big problem, I think.
Cody, man. Protect your own finisher.
Yeah, finishing, spam finishing and all that.
Yeah, like, I was like...
No, you're right. That is an issue. Yeah?
That's a bigger issue to me than, like, Canadian destroyers becoming transition moves.
I thought you were about to say stabbing someone with a syringe.
No. Than the Canadian destroyer becoming a transition move. It's Cody himself is spamming his own finisher.
Using his finisher as a transition
move. And because it does 2 things. It takes the surprise out of it being the end of the match.
Yeah.
Because now I have to watch you do it 3 times. And it also makes your move look shit.
Like, there was a story to it when he was doing it with Roman.
That's different.
He was putting down Roman, and then the first when he went for the third one, he got sold as a code, and
that was the previous
you don't
year.
need to continue to do that.
But like the thing with him doing the crossroads thing is
Lesnar had started all this when he was like,
again going back to Paul Heyman.
I'm doing 8 matches, I'm coming out and I'm hitting 17 F5s, and that's it.
But
it's doing things in a believable way.
I never really had the issue with Brock Lesnar knowing because it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, you could hit John Cena with all the German suplexes you want, Brock.
Yeah, do 10 more.
Do 10 more. Like, just if you think you've done enough, do 20 more.
But do you know what a thing that was done in Japan in the 90s that I loved was the idea of the super or the uber finisher. Like Misawa would pull out the Emerald Flausion. What did he?
Or the Tiger Driver now, isn't it?
So that was one of them, but you had the Emerald Flausion.
I'm saying is the Tiger Driver now. Tiger Driver is now, yeah.
So like Ospreay's really smart that way. He will pin 90% of people.
There's Stormbreaker
with the
Hidden
Blade, right? Which I love that as a finisher.
It's good. Finisher.
It looks great because it can come like that as well.
Yeah.
And there's different versions of it. You know, there's the one with the short run up that just
there's
like
one to the front. There's one when they're on their knees. The one
and you know which is the one that gets the pin.
What I hate about the Stormbreaker is that it's the same set. It's the same setup for the Tiger Driver.
Just do it
because Tony Schiavone even got, he's going for it, and then Excalibur had to be like, it's Stormbreaker.
He needs to stop using the Stormbreaker if he's going to continue using the Tiger Driver. I know Stormbreaker's a cool looking move, but it's not as cool as his Tiger Driver, and it's not as cool as the Hidden Blade. But like, so he would pin 95% of people with the Hidden Blade, but then there's that 5% of guys who you have to do the Tiger Driver to because they're just better.
Yeah. So what does he have to do now when he comes up against Hangman?
Like, Hangman is obviously a Tiger Driver guy. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
He might have to do 2 times.
He might have to bring a bomb.
Well, if you think of like who
put a bomb up Hangman's ass,
who has kicked
and
out
set him on fire
through in the One-Winged Angel. Only one person ever has kicked out of it.
Who? AJ?
Kota Ibushi, like 12 years ago.
Oh, the One-Winged Angel. I'm thinking of I was thinking of Christopher Daniels falling.
Oh, the fall. Yeah.
Whatever that wings or something.
Yeah, well, I can't remember what that was called.
I was like, falling angel Christopher. Yeah, I was like,
I've seen 10 people kick out of that. Yeah, like, so I don't know, we kind of got off topic there. It was actually a very interesting discussion in general on the state of the wrestling industry.
Yeah, it's just when getting back to
violence,
believable violence,
yes.
Violence. Abyss can bring the violence because it's believable. That's ingrained within his character.
And Mick Foley,
and it makes sense.
And Vader.
Yeah, like that's a different type of violence.
Yeah, Vader is the Gunther Walter type of violence.
It makes sense. Otherwise, you can have your little hardcore matches which are fun in itself. Like I really enjoyed Raven, Big Show, and Kane at WrestleMania 17 because it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a good match.
That's a ridiculous,
that was a good match.
I just worry about where it's going now. Like what's the because
I know
I think AEW became quite cartoony with their violence, maybe. Like you look at Darby Allin coming out like Hank Scorpio with a flamethrower. Like to me,
that was so cool.
And that's in the same match where Darby Allin or the Scapegoat someone tried to run over someone with Scapegoat's little. And you're just like, what are we trying to accomplish here, lads?
I know, and here's the.
So how can you go? How can you go to a wrestling match? Like Darby Allin's someone with believable violence because he'll throw himself in a body bag and then get a powerbomb outside or something.
Yeah, with the Brian Cage spot years ago, and Lance Archer did it, and then also when he went through the glass off the top of that ladder, that was one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
I forgot about that.
I know.
I actually did forget about that.
Yeah, but that's they've done the smart thing of that's now been incorporated into.
But Darby can do that.
Their lore. Yeah, Darby is another one that fits into that category.
You know what? You know one of the best visuals that I've ever had, and it was only a picture that I seen, and I was clamoring to see the tape. Was Jimmy Jacobs had one of the Briscoes tied up, over him as blood was dripping down on the Jimmy Jacobs.
I've never actually seen that match. Have you?
I just seen that finish, but it took me years because I only seen it. It could have been in like Fighting Spirit magazine or something. Jimmy
that
Jacobs,
is one of the coolest images ever.
Blew my mind.
Yeah,
like very violent.
Yeah,
very violent. And
Jimmy Jacobs, he a road agent now with
AEW.
Is he with AEW?
Yeah, he was with WWE and got fired when the Elite showed up and he took photos with them.
Oh yeah.
I think he works closely with Chris Jericho because he helped them with the "You just made the list."
Oh, did he? Was he? Yeah.
Like you look at something like "You just made the list" and we all pop for it, or Rusev Day and we all pop for it. Like they don't have to do anything.
I know, but I also find though that it's the same with the CEO. Like, I hate those, like, almost.
CBL. He's in a bull rope match tonight. Or yeah, down in RCW. Where actually he was in a bull rope match at the weekend. He won.
Bull rope match.
He lost.
Who knows?
Matthew, edit that depending on the result.
Yeah. Yay, CBL. CBL.
Fuck you, Andy Steele. But I like bull rope matches when
love them.
You know,
I think one of my favorite steps. You know, another thing as well is, I think. Right, I would imagine back at the time, the Texas step match between Swerve and Hangman was probably supposed to be somewhat akin to a blow off.
The Texas step match between Chris Harris and James Storm.
Oh my god, that was one. That was an unbelievable feud as well.
Yeah, sorry, go on ahead.
But then business wise, this thing is the fucking hottest thing we have. Like, we can't just blow it off now, and let's find a way to come back to it relatively soon. But also, I just think, was a cage match the right match in general for it? I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, no, like, in my opinion, cage matches
are limited, aren't they?
Like, I think we discussed it when Aleister Black and Edge had the cage match. We're like, why the fuck are the weapons in the ring?
Yeah,
like, I know. They just had that cage match as well recently enough.
That was 5 months ago.
And then we're just coming off Blood and Guts as well, which is a double cage match. Yeah. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I found it weird that they went with the cage stip anyway. I know why Edge and Aleister Black did.
I get it in the sense that, like, you're locking two guys in a cage
in here together. Like,
but like, I think they could have done without the weapons.
Possibly.
I think maybe one weapon would have been sufficient, and I think that would have had more of an impact. If they just used the cage,
I think they should have finished with the chair shot anyway, regardless.
Yeah, but if they use the cage to their advantage, I find as that is the gimmick, right? Yeah. You're locked in a cage. Now just beat the fuck out of each other. Don't throw.
Could have done that too.
Don't throw a toolbox in there. Just start punching each other. Boom, throw them into the cage. Like, that's all you had to do, and then at the end, whack him with a chair, or then at the end with whatever the cinder block spot, like powerbomb and a cinder block going, oh my god, Swerve's back is broken now.
Yeah, like
it is broken. Sore. He's taking time off anyway.
Yeah.
Hangman Adam Page is after breaking Swerve Strickland's back with a powerbomb onto a cinder block. Tony Khan, I don't condone this kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know how a cinder block got into the cell.
Yeah. What's that doing there? No, like, I don't actually disagree with anything you're saying. And I do think there probably would have been something to be served within that match.
I hate that we're just talking about this though as
I know, but that, like, look, that's
on the conversation.
Yeah, and also, like, it is, probably it's not by no means it's not the best match of the year, but, like, it's going to be one of the most memorable.
The fact that we're talking about, does it go to show that they've accomplished exactly what they wanted? Now, as wrestling fans, we'll talk about it anyway.
Probably.
Like, there's nothing worse, I'd imagine, than coming out of a pay-per-view without a big talking point.
Yeah.
And that was your talking point. Or was the asphyxiation the talking point?
Well, no, they had multiple talking points I felt coming out of that show. But in fairness to AEW, with their pay-per-views, they generate a lot of fucking chatter in the weeks afterwards.
Yeah, not getting eyes on that though.
On the chatter or on the pay-per-views?
On the pay-per-views.
Pay-per-views do well. Like, in terms of how pay-per-views gone.
And how they were.
Market in general.
How they were doing though.
Oh, no, but sure. Like,
do you think that, like, say, whatever, the fans that they turned off in 2023, people like me.
Yeah. No, their pay-per-views haven't dropped.
Like Dunphy.
Their pay-per-views haven't dropped.
Okay.
Like, if you look at pay-per-view numbers, 2024 will be their most bought year. Now, I know they've added
pay-per-views. Well, that's good then.
Yeah, they've added pay-per-views.
Oh, well, there.
But
it's like WWE going, we have a record attendance and a record gate. And you're like, that's because you charge more for tickets.
The prices are more expensive. But also, like, if you look at All In, the highest they've ever done was Punk's first match. Around 200k. But Sting's retirement match did 180 this year, which was a very big number. The estimates for All In this year are like 167 to 172, which, like,
considering the time of day.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal number. And the rest of them are averaging off in and around the 120 to 130, 140 region. And, like, if you look at UFC pay-per-views, who are supposedly a much bigger company, they don't break 350, 300 without like a top line star involved.
Yeah. I don't want to focus all on that because I think, I'm in a Bruiser Brody top.
I'm in a Brody Lee top.
Abdullah the Butcher is someone that sticks out.
Yeah, I actually meant to bring him up earlier.
Abdullah the Butcher is going around stabbing people before giving them apparently hepatitis C or whatever.
Yeah, but like this shit, like I said, none of this is new. It's just, it is new. It will be new to a certain viewer.
Like they literally tried to kill Abdullah the Butcher by electrocuting him.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
That was fucking weird.
You have people like Sabu.
Like you look at Terry Funk.
Yeah, Sabu, Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, like ECW.
But also if you look at Funk in Japan in the mid 90s with Onita and that. Like that's some of the most violent.
Overly familiar with that, but FMW stuff.
Yeah, and even not FMW and UWFI, and when we're talking about the Vader and Gunter style, like shoot, boxing each other in the neck, like
I really like Mike Awesome because he was believable and he did mad cool stuff.
I love Mike Awesome.
And he never got he did get violent, like they were smacking each other with chairs. I remember
him and Tanaka got tasty with each other. I
remember ECW One Night Stand too, and I distinctly remember JBL. He's coming up a lot lately. I distinctly remember
JBL run.
Oh, he's going to get another table. Look at him. And he was shit-faced in the crowd, like, and then he'd just get powerbombed through a table and stuff. But I remember watching that show. Just like, wow, this is what wrestling could be. This is class.
ECW One Night Stand, like, this is what, we spoke about doing possibly an ECW reboot episode. And it was like, when they did the One Night Stands, both of them, 1 and 2, they were sensational, like, weren't they?
Saved.
They were sensational.
Like the Mick Foley and Edge against Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Or the first one where it was a Tommy Dreamer and Sandman against the Dudley Boys with the flaming table and all that. Like, but if they did that again next month with another flaming table, and they did that again next month with another flaming table, and then they did it, and they go, actually, you know what? We're not setting the table on fire. We're setting you on fire.
Yeah, what's the burnout?
And now we're gonna have glass. And then by the time they do set a table on fire, you're like, nah.
But like the thing with original ECW is like they mixed it in with luchadors.
Well, that's what AEW. That's what AEW are doing now.
Yeah.
I don't know where we stand on this then.
Either do I. Like, and I think like the only thing is like. We both know why we did this episode now, because it's a hot topic.
Yeah.
But also, I've only realised during it that we don't know what the outcome is, and we won't for a long time.
Of that match?
Not just that match, but that direction.
Of wrestling.
Yeah.
Like
are they going to lean more into it? Should they lean more into it?
Like in my training that I'm doing now, like they're always bringing up points of almost do less. Yeah. Or less is more, as the old adage says, if someone said to me today, but if you're going to, I know if you have it's completely different, like from having a fucking show in front of kids and it's just a kids show to WWE or whatever.
Yeah, or like a top level pay-per-view or whatever.
But as you said, you have MJ or you have Will Ospreay having a super finisher. And then when that gets pulled out every now and again, you're like, holy moly. Yeah. Like a super R FU from John Cena.
Yeah, when he pulled out. There you go. That's a good example of this stuff.
Finisher. They're doing this stuff all the time.
It's not all the time.
Darby Allin glass spot.
That's Darby Allin.
Then you have Anarchy in the arena where they literally set a person on fire.
Yeah.
Then you have Blood and Guts where they poured gasoline on someone and threatened to put them on fire. And then you had All Out.
Yeah. But in between that, you had loads of stuff and none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm saying this is concurrently on...
Like, well, that's what? How long ago?
I'm not saying that's a problem. If that's what you're into, that's fine. It's just
really like...
I'm just saying, where do they go now? Like, what's the next? Do they bring a bazooka?
I'd like to see that.
Would you like to see a bazooka in wrestling?
What's that Japanese movie where...
China had a bazooka, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. There's a Japanese movie, I'll get the name of it, yeah. It's a wild one, where these two... guys it's a gangster movie, and then in the last 2 minutes
Itchy the Killer,
it turns out they're both magic and they blow up the whole world with a bazooka.
Oh, like do you shove fireworks up somebody's ass and then, you know what I mean, and then do you bring a bomb?
Yeah, like my thing is like, as well as like when I don't know, like what's the next thing Darby could feasibly do?
I'm sure he's a very creative individual.
Well, like we've seen this with Shane McMahon and Steve Blackman years ago.
And they just repeated the same stuff all the time.
Shane had to do something mental, so he fell from 50 odd feet.
Yeah, and then
I never liked that.
He did it again. He did it at SummerSlam with Steve Blackman, and then he did it again. He's done it a few times.
And then he came off the top of the cell.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't want Darby. I know, like, Darby can go on and have a 15-minute main event on Dynamite with no violence against whoever on the roster, and it'd be a great match.
I think if Darby, say, went to WWE and them producing him and just been like, look, we know that you want to do mad stuff. We want you to do mad stuff, but we don't want you to do it all the time. If you save yourself, if you work in a different way and you save yourself for the super finishes.
Not with Darby. Darby's different.
Well, then we're not going to have Darby around for a long time.
No, and he said that in his promo on Wednesday night. Yeah. He was like, people keep telling me I'm going to be dead by 40. And he's like, fine. Darby's just, like, I think you can apply that logic to a lot of people. I just think it's futile applying it to Darby. Of all people, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Darby's
I just think he'll have better moments in Red. But like that's him. Like that's what he wants to do.
Like I'm
talking about it as a consumer of wrestling, and I can like buying into these characters. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about from him from a personal perspective. I don't know what he's like.
And WWE would be the right mix.
I think he'd be cool, man.
Like there's other guys on the roster.
I'm sure Mick Foley wasn't going to be the right mix coming off all these Japanese death matches.
Yeah, and then he came in like he
came in as it's weird. Very believable character.
He, if anything, Mick Foley shouldn't have worked in WWF at that time, and he made it work because he's just
they put a mask on him and everything.
Yeah, he's one of the best ever,
and he pulled his hair out, and you're just like, "Wow, this guy is psychotic."
Darby in WWE. There's other people that we spoke about. Lots of other
Bring
people.
Necro Butcher back.
Yeah,
actually, don't. I heard some very shady stuff about Necro Butcher recently.
Going near Necro Butcher.
Still, his matches with Joe, that was a cool clash of styles.
That was Necro Butcher and Samoa Joe is an all timer.
When he burst his head off the floor,
they did like nasty shit. Man. An all timer. I know we said we weren't going to curse to them. We did it loads.
Is that us done?
I think we're done. Are we?
Like, what do we talk about?
I don't know.
We like wrestling is inherently violent.
Yes.
By its nature, it has to be.
Yeah. I'm advocating that every now and again you push the boundaries. But I don't want it to, for me, I don't want it to be the norm.
I'm the same.
Like what you're saying is
but AEW is making it the norm.
I don't think to me it doesn't feel like they've made it or are making it the norm. I don't, and when you pointed out to me that like they did Anarchy in the Arena, if going backwards, like they did All Out, a couple of months before that they did Blood and Guts, a couple of months before that they did Anarchy in the Arena.
And then the Sting
retirement is February. So in the space of 6 months they've done like 4.
And they've probably done some other mad stuff that I don't really remember.
You can say this the stat Willow thing, and there's probably other stuff there as well that we don't remember.
Because like didn't All In have Jack Perry and Darby going off the stage as well? Like 2 weeks before you have Stat and Willow going off the stage?
Yes. Who went off the stage? Whatever.
It was Jack and Darby.
Jack and Darby did, yeah. Oh yeah, and the coffin match, yeah. It's just that wasn't memorable because it wasn't a great match. But yeah, like to me, I've never felt like this has become the norm. I don't know why.
Remember when WWE were just having monthly pay-per-views based around the name of the gimmick? Hell in a Cell, TLC, Elimination Chamber. You're just like, well, no matter what, it's going to be a Hell in a Cell match when it didn't feel deserved.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and I'm not saying Swerve and Hangman didn't feel deserved.
No, Swerve and Hangman, I tell you what.
That storyline deserved a blood feud.
Blood and Guts this year didn't feel deserved.
No. However, that storyline deserved a blood feud. However, what they decided to go with in Attempted Murder, in my opinion, is...
Attempted... suffocation.
Well, no. I'm talking about in Swerve and Hangman.
Hangman, sorry. Yeah,
when he tries to stab him, like, is he trying to proper blind him?
Possibly.
Like, was there anything in the syringe, or was he just sticking a syringe?
I thought the idea of it was, and this wasn't sold by commentary, I don't know.
Chloroform?
Yeah, that he was like something to make him pass out, like to beat him. That he had to do something like that to beat him.
But why would he want to do that? Oh, because he's never bet him.
Yeah, because he's never bent him, and then he smacks him over the head. When
but would he not just want to keep kicking the shit out of him?
But he smacks him over the head then when he's incapacitated, and the referee.
Yeah, but he doesn't like. Why would he want the violence to end?
There was a beautiful moment right at the end where he goes up the ramp, right, and then he sees what he's done, and he goes to walk back to the ring, and I thought there was this look of regret on his face, and then he shakes it off and says, "No, fuck that. Yeah, this is who I am now," and goes off and celebrates.
This is who he has to become now.
Yeah.
To get back to being an AEW champion. You know what he can do then? He can burn it and turn it black, just like Jack Perry did.
See my red sun.
And then you're going to have Jack Perry and
black.
Adam
Escape
Hangman.
goats.
Escape cunts. Sorry, wasn't meant to curse. I don't know.
That's a big curse.
You know what? Hangman needs to shave his head and go bald. You know what you should do? You should watch a little movie called Romper Stomper. You might get you might get some things from that.
This is funny because me and John were literally talking about, because we were talking about them doing the film All About Eve with Tony and Mariah.
Right.
And then we were like, what film are they going to do next? Never would have guessed Romper Stomper.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed it.
There you have it. Next week, when we discuss WWE doing Chitty Bang Bang. I don't know, violence. Yeah, let us know what you think. Who was your favorite?
I don't think we've resolved anything.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like we just talked about All Out. And we just talked about Hangman and Swerve. When, like, there's so many great artists that have done. And I'm not saying, like, Swerve is a fantastic wrestler. Adam Hangman Page, he's a great wrestler.
Fantastic wrestler.
I think Swerve is another level, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah, sort of special.
I just, maybe they didn't need to just go that heavy with it, considering that they're so great.
You have talked me into maybe there being a less, when you painted that picture of the cinder block and breaking his back, I enjoyed that. I did.
Like,
I also love the match too.
Kevin Owens did it to Sami Zayn, and he put Sami Zayn out.
Yeah.
For
that was off the apron that time.
For a long time, and then it just becomes, you know, a bit like that.
No, he does it every match.
Well, like, you know, that should be putting out when Randy Orton first started doing the punk kick.
Yeah.
You know, like he just kicked a person in the head like it was a soccer ball.
They disappeared for ages.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? If he just starts doing it as a transitional move, it lessens the impact of your previous iterations of it, like all the way. It's not like you can learn how to take a kick in the head and go, my opponents have have calloused.
Yeah, they're calloused their brain.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, there's certain things in my opinion that makes wrestling sacred.
Also, what I think we've covered nicely today is not just violence, but overuse or overexposure of stuff in wrestling.
Yeah, I do like a bit of ultra violence. I do. I like watching my tournament to deaths, but only like, I don't know, maybe not as main event wrestling.
I'm like, I don't want to see another match like that for a long time.
But you know what? You might see it on a Rampage or something, or a Ring of Honor show where Dante Martin is taking a Canadian Destroyer off a ladder into another ladder or through a table and then breaking his...
Fucking wild.
Madness. Boys, look after yourselves. Thanks very much for listening. This has been the Wrestle Fan Wrestling Show. We've been the All Bucks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And any comments, drop them below, because he reads them all.
I do actually know.